Hello everyone, thank you for coming. I am Bart. I am founder of Base. Currently I am an angel investor, and also recently I started writing my blog. It's founderspawn.com. I write there about startups, about the ecosystem, about learnings from my story. So I encourage everyone to have a look into that. So maybe I can't resist temptation. So I will talk today about Base, the story behind Base, learnings, observations, and a little bit about acquisition as well. But I would like to ask you guys if you could raise the hand if you heard about Base before. All right, so quite a few people. Is there anyone who is not familiar with Base just yet? So you will learn something today. That's great. And are there any people who worked at Base? Please raise your hand. There is some nice crowd over there. Okay, that's great. So I thought like, how can I structure this talk? And I actually thought that maybe I should start before the foundation of Base, just because like there is I think important context, and one thing led to the other, and Base was not our first company. So actually, maybe I will start a little bit on a personal note. So I studied computer science, and when I was on university, I didn't really know how my career would evolve. I was just not sure what I would be doing in the future. I knew some things. I valued to be independent. I didn't like when anyone told me what to do. So this is kind of like this was my mindset, and I was exploring. I was trying to get myself involved in different projects, and that was my approach. And actually, in 2006, I spent the summer in US. I worked there for the summer. And actually, I met many people who were like super young. They were like super committed to work. They were hardworking. They were self-reliant, and they haven't thought about working for a big company. They really wanted to do something by themselves. And I found that kind of like approach to work very, very fulfilling and exciting. And I think that this somehow clicked with me. So I came back from US, and actually I met the friend of mine, Pavel, who I know from high school. And actually he spent that summer working for a Swedish company. He worked on a project for them, and they didn't finish the project for the summer. And those folks asked him if he can finish it in, later. So he knew, it might be difficult for him to finish it by himself, so he asked me whether I want to join. I was ready to do something, so we started working on the project together, and the third person who joined us was Agata. We thought initially that the project will take us a month, like in IT many things take 1 month. Apparently it took significantly longer. It was 6 months by the time we finished it. So let's say that commercially it was not an amazing success, but on the other hand, we were proud that we finished something, that we delivered something. So it was a big achievement for us. And actually, after finishing the job, we thought, we have one project in portfolio. Why don't we just start doing like other projects, right? And so we decided to start a company. The fourth person who joined us besides Pavel and Agata was Ella, who helped us in acquiring customers, and this is how Applicake was born. And Applicake was a software development house. We would work with people from Western Europe and from US, and we would be pretty much building, their startups. So they would come to us, they had some idea, and we would build it. And that was the business model. So after 2 years, we grew the team significantly. I think there were, like 15 or 20 of us. It was, the vibe was great. We were all young. We were all friends. We were really pushing strong. It was amazing. However, we started like observing different things. So one of them was that we work with people who has an idea, and we would typically work on a project for them for a couple of months, and then we would release it. And after the release, one of the two things might have happened. So the first one was that it was a bad idea, and the project was not successful, and then it was shut down, and then we were out. And alternatively, it didn't happen very often, but sometimes it did happen. The project was successful, some initial traction was there, and then the client typically would hire somebody internally, so we were also out. So pretty much our job was to just kind of like build projects and then new projects and then new projects. So that was one observation. And then the second observation was that in order for us to scale our software business, we would need to hire significantly more people, probably middle management, you know, like operations would be significantly more complex. And we were actually not sure if this is the right step for us. So we thought about that, and we concluded that since we know how to build products, right? We've done that many times in the past. Why don't we build our own product? And yeah, this is what we did. So actually, the first product we did was not Base. It was TripPL. It was I see some people nodding. So TripPL was this amazing idea. It was social network for travelers. And the idea, like we all like traveling, and we thought that, you know, having this one place where people can come and they can share their pictures from their trips, they can plan their next journey and meet friends, is amazing. And you know, we were absolutely sure that this will be the best thing ever. So what we did, we just built a prototype, we released it, and after some time we realized that it's not such a good of an idea, you know, like people were not engaged and didn't care that much. It was nice to have. It was in our heads that, you know, that this is a great idea and it looked good on paper, but actually, you know, it wasn't a viable business idea. So that was kind of a bummer. But I think that this is like one of the very key lessons which I learned, is that, you know, like if you think about building a product, you really need to build a product which solves a real customer need. You know, there needs to be something real there. People need to have a problem. And actually the best method to validate your idea is to build a prototype, launch it, and just start talking with your customers, right? And so on one hand, like the fact that the idea was bad was not good, but on the other hand, like this lesson almost kind of like encouraged us to try more and just to build something else, because we knew that we are definitely capable of building products. Yeah, so it's 2008, and during that year we met Uzi. Uzi is a co-founder of Base, and so Uzi is Israeli, and back then he ran his web agency in Israel, similar size than Applicake. And actually, Uzi noticed that sales software for small businesses specifically is complex and expensive. And actually, the assumption was that like building something which is simple, intuitive, and affordable might be worth trying. And yeah, that was his observation. And actually, we looked at how we manage our sales in a business, and we had like a big Google spreadsheet. We put all, you know, like all contacts there, all notes and whatnot. Customer relationships were spread between different inboxes of the team. So we actually felt the pain. We did some research, and yeah, we said, okay, why not? Let's build the prototype and you know, and see what happens. And yeah, this is how Base started. So we actually started working on Base end of 2008. We launched it 2009 after a few months. And you know, in the beginning, mainly people who from our network started using the product. There were not too many of them, but we could see that something is happening. And actually, after so the whole product was first of all bootstrapped, and all the founders were working in their kind of like previous businesses, right? So really it was difficult to kind of like push strong, because we couldn't focus on it like full time. And so I think it was mid-2009 when Uzi, myself, and Pavel decided to kind of like switch our focus fully to Base. And also we were joined by two other people from Applicake. It was Marcin and Jacek. And yeah, and we just kind of like, you know, starting building the product, acquiring customers. We gained some small momentum, and kind of like that work, that energy led us to raise our first round of financing. This was 2010. Actually, we raised around $1 million from investors in Chicago, and this was actually the first time where we got where we had a bigger infusion of cash and we could kind of like invest in something, right? Obviously, revenue from Base were not that high back then, and so actually. With like that money allowed us to actually do one of the best decisions we've ever made in our business, as we decided to build Base apps for Android and for iOS. And maybe this sounds kind of like very, like this is natural way to build software right now. But remember, 2010, everything was different. It was not clear that mobile would be this kind of like new interface and new platform. So actually, I think it was kind of a bold move. We also didn't have like any like talent in the team to actually build those apps. We didn't have like necessary infrastructure and all that. So it was big project, but we did it, and we shipped apps for iOS and for Android, and apparently, then our growth took off. It was just crazy. I mean, within first few weeks after the release, we 10x'd our registrations, and we could really feel that that something is brewing, and what happened was is that since there were so few apps in app stores. When somebody typed in CRM or sales tracking either in iOS or in Android, App Store, we would show up on the first place, right? So people were not looking for our brand, but we were just there, and it was just crazy. So that growth, was incredible, and actually, like some people started noticing that something is happening, and apparently during that time. Index Ventures, this is a pretty well-known fund. They invested in Slack and in Dropbox, for example. They knocked on our doors and they said, we like what you guys are doing and we would like to invest, right? And we were like super surprised because we were not looking for money, but actually this situation kind of like triggered their action, and yeah, it was great. That actually this is like another kind of like thing that I think that is important for founders, is that the best moment to raise money is when you don't need them, and really it's always better when investors approach you rather than you go after them and you try to look for investments, right? So that happened and it was great. I will not tell you kind of like more details what happened later, maybe just kind of like high level, because there are still many things which happened later. But yeah, over the course of next few years, we managed to grow our customer base significantly. So in the beginning we only served like we only had small businesses using Base, then also medium-sized businesses and enterprise businesses started using Base. Our largest customer had more than 1,000 people using Base. Imagine like 1,000 salespeople in one company using our product. It's really incredible feeling. Other than that, we managed to raise additional 2 rounds of financing. We grew the team to more than 200 people. We had an office in Krakow and then another one in California. Yeah, and it was a wild ride. And in 2018, Zendesk acquired us, and yeah, we started a new chapter. So let's maybe stop here, and now I maybe will tell you a little bit about my observations and learnings from that period. So I think that like one of the things which I keep thinking about is that growth became kind of like a compass for our decision making. When like in our business, we really always thought about like, okay, so what can we do to grow faster? So kind of like growth was the thing. It was always the thing, and actually, in order to grow fast, first of all, you need to work efficiently, and you really want to kind of like also be able to execute quickly, right? So so that was important for us, and actually whenever we worked on any project or initiative, we always kind of like thought about 3 layers to a project. It was scope, it was time, and it was quality. And in order to move fast, we always tried to limit the scope, just to kind of like ship things faster, and really we always thought that quality needs to be top notch. The other thing which is critical to grow quickly is you know, it's kind of like a cliche, but really deeply understanding your customers. And you know, everyone says that, but I think that really just understanding what they are trying to achieve, what are their problems, what are their struggles, how they solve their stuff, like their problems today, and how those problems can be solved in an ideal way. This is critical, really. And you know, in our case, we started with smaller customers, then we grew to, you know, we started serving larger and larger customers, and those needs change over time. So you just cannot, you know, just do a little bit of the research here and then forget about that. There's constant change, and really being very close to customers is critical. And last but not least, I think measuring stuff is also very important. Ada, I'm looking at you, and yeah, you know, we always try to measure things. We always try to be analytical and thoughtful, and we really wanted to kind of eliminate bias from our thinking. So yeah, so those are the things which I think helped us growing quickly. I think that another kind of like realization is that I had the pleasure to have fantastic founders. I think that you know, like building a company with good people is critical. And actually, you know, we spent so much time together. We trusted each other. We knew each other. We liked each other. You know, like when you're a founder, you really spend most of your time on fixing things or thinking about like next stuff you can improve. You don't spend your time in nice places very often, just because if something works, this is not your focus. So really just having somebody next to you who understands you and who is really committed was always critical. And you know, just our founding team, I think that from that standpoint was always great. There were some other things which played into our favor. So first of all, we operated on a big market, and the market grew very quickly. So between 2010 and 2020, CRM market grew almost like 5-fold. So that was definitely something, you know, positive. Just, you know, because there were the demand was growing over time. So that was great. And then the other 2 things which I think played important role in our growth was, first of all, mobile explosion, right? We kind of like caught this wave. We didn't know that this will happen, right? It was just kind of like an assumption. But just to give you some numbers, in 2010, I actually checked this before this talk. So in 2010, around 40 million iPhones were sold. In 2015, more than 250, or around 250. So actually, there were more and more people using iOS and Android devices, and actually we were very well positioned to actually, you know, to accommodate those people. And yeah, last but not least, also like cloud computing and moving from the software on-premise to cloud was a thing, and we were a cloud solution, right? So there were also many people who were actually kind of started using online apps. So yeah, I think that there's one more thing I want to talk about in terms of learnings and maybe observations, and I think that we had a stellar team at Base, right? And I think that really like working with amazing people is critical, and because in the end of the day, like everything is built by people from the company. So we always wanted to work with super strong people, and maybe I will just double click a little bit on that subject, because I think that we're thoughtful in terms of who we wanted to work with. So first of all, we really cared about mindset of people. And you know, there are people who see glasses half empty and half full, and we always wanted to work with people who see half full glasses. You know, there will be many challenges, you know, on your way when you build a startup, and really believing that something is possible was critical for us. And so mindset was very important. Then the other important aspect was motivation. Where I was interviewing everyone who actually would join our office in Krakow, and I would always ask this question: why do you want to join us, right? Why do you want to join Base specifically? And right now there are so many other options you can do, like why Base is the choice. And you know, there were different answers to this question. You know, there was like a basket of answers, something along the lines, you know, you have great office, your tech is great, you know, it's pretty successful story, whatnot. So this is one type of answers. And then the other one was, look, I love technology, but like the biggest thing about me is to build something which people want, or that I can have an impact on others. Or maybe somebody would say, you know, I don't know too much about sales, but I asked a friend of mine who is a salesperson, and actually, you know, I asked him like, how do you like your software you use, and they would tell me this is not great software. So maybe, you know, just building something cooler is something which is interesting for me. So really kind of like motivation was critical for us. Some other aspects were also important. Like, for example, we wanted to work with authentic people, with real people who didn't have like any hidden agendas, who were communicating well. We wanted to work with doers. You know, in the end of the day, we had to ship things, right? And really kind of like working with people who are kind of like not happy if things are not finished was something important. And obviously, you know, like we wanted to work with talented and skilled people, but also people who are curious and who like to learn. Just because skills which are, you know, good today might not be good in a year or so. So kind of like working with people who are naturally curious was always important for us. So yeah, those are observations, and those are learnings. You know, when I talk about them right now, they don't seem to me like maybe unique or revealing in any way. I mean, these kind of things you can probably read somewhere and you know, or listen somewhere. But I think that just going through that journey myself was kind of like gives kind of like a little bit different light to those observations for me, and they became significantly more real. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that part. And yeah, Dominika asked me to actually talk a little bit about acquisition itself. So yeah, let's. Yeah, I can definitely talk about the acquisition. Maybe I will not go into too many details, but yeah, there are actually some funny things there. So first of all, maybe I will tell you how it started. And the funny thing about how it started is that when it started, we didn't know that it started, you know, and that's kind of like, you know, almost like how is it possible? So really what happened was that we built like a sales software, sales management software, and if you're a customer, you typically use like many different softwares. You would use something for sales, for you know, for marketing, for support, for various different things, right? And so we would integrate with different software vendors, and one of them was actually Zendesk. We wanted to build integration between Base and Zendesk, and so for example, our clients could see support tickets, you know, in our interface, and those support tickets were from Zendesk support. And we started building, you know, the applications with them, the integration with them, and it was actually going pretty well. It was like a pretty robust integration. And then one thing led to the other, and then we started talking about some type of partnership, right? Maybe we could partner on some, you know, kind of like co-selling. So for example, if there are customers who use Base, they might actually are looking for support solution and vice versa. And you know, we started kind of like, you know, digging more and more, and at some point we realized that Zendesk is thinking about significantly, deeper integration with us. Yeah, they were just kind of like thinking about entering sales management market, and they thought that actually buying a company is the way to do that. So this is how we learned about that. Then so what was the decision process of actually selling? So first of all, it was 10 years after we started Base, so it's been already a while. Also, we had like many investors on board, and we knew that at some point we need to have some type of liquidity event. So that was another thing. But also, like, one of the things which happened that time was that we would be actually acquiring larger and larger businesses, and acquiring larger businesses like big companies is more difficult, just because their needs are more complex. And very often those companies would not only think about like sales management software, but they would also think about marketing software and support software and maybe some kind of platform, right? And we didn't have those pieces, right? And so it was more difficult for us to compete on those deals, just because there was Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, and all those kind of like well-known brands. And so we thought that if we combine like our forces with Zendesk, it would really make us it would be easier for us to grow. So that was also like a thing which we thought about. And obviously there were kind of like other details, but those are definitely the things which we thought about back then. And maybe the last thing I will tell you right now is about like how the process looked itself. How long did it take, and so on. So actually, it was like a pretty stressful and intense process. It was maybe like between 3 to 4 months between kind of like realize that something is about to happen, and actually the Zendesk acquired us. And one of the biggest difficulties specifically for me was that I had to work almost 2 jobs back then. And the reason for this is that like really no one from our company, I mean maybe not no one, but very few people knew about the acquisition, right? And also it was the same on the Zendesk end, and typically this is how it works. So there is kind of like a small group of people who work on that, and others just don't know. And the reason for this is that, first of all, there are some compliance things, and also you don't want to build this expectation, because in the end of the day, you don't know whether the deal will close or not. It can fall apart pretty much like every single day. So what it technically meant for me was that I had to work during the day as nothing happens. I would be in the office, I would work with everyone, and then during the evening and night I would work on the acquisition. And apparently, working on the acquisition was mostly working with lawyers and going through documents. So you can imagine how fun is that. So definitely it was like a difficult time. Difficult in the sense of just like a lot of work. Yeah, but we did it. We announced the acquisition. It was September 2018. I think it was received well, and yeah, this is how it happened. Yeah, so thank you for now. Maybe we can just talk. Maybe there are some questions. I'm happy to answer those questions. Thank you.